Hello, friends. Host Eric here with Arch Admin Susie, Josh, Kestrel, Ken, Elsie, and, of course, our beloved bot. We're talking today about the difference between the ESFP and the ENFP personality types. The reason we're distinguishing between the two is they both have polar TI. What does that mean? It means their place of least resistance, or their blind spot, is consistency and what you might say argumentation presented for scrutiny is not their strong suit, and they don't tend to value it either side at all. Either type doesn't value it at all, and they both tend to make the same mistake. They say, "Well, but your logic is just really just your subjective opinion to prefer that." Okay, well, let's talk about why they're so different and what makes an NT respond, or especially NTPs, respond differently to one rather than the other. So, note that the ESFP goes SEFITENI, and the ENFP goes NEFITESI. So, how does that make them display very differently? Well, I think the best way to evaluate it is to talk about an order of operations. So an ENFP takes metaphysical action first. Ideation, comes up with some sort of notion, creative notion or improvisational notion or whatever that links disparate things. That's their first course of action. Then they check their metaphysical action against their introverted feelings. But remember, the action they've taken is in the world of conditionality, namely the world of metaphysics. So even though they are not being conditionally consistent, they're not judging their own metaphysical action based on a consistency metric. Their metaphysical action is nevertheless subject to the same rules that any other metaphysical action is, namely time goes both directions. They can take it back. They can re-ideate. If in fact their idea hurts someone's feelings, they can frame it so that the person understands it as meaning something different. All that kind of stuff can happen, right? Now, their third function of the ENFP is TE, and that means they're all about being effective at the end of the day. Their hidden agenda is to be effective. To be effective at what? To be effective about being creative in ways that are validated by their own introverted feeling of valuing, and that's consistent with maintaining their good relationships and all that kind of stuff. And then their final slot, they've got SI. So like me, they kind of use SI haphazardly. Whereas the INTPs were discussing not that long ago about how an TI-SI loop relates to depression, and any SI loop, it relates to being slightly untethered, because the thing is, for example, when I'm in any SI loop, what that means is I keep thinking about something that didn't go as I wanted it to, and different things I could have done. I treat it as though it were in a conditionality realm, but it's not, and so that's just like futile banging my head against the wall. But the thing is, the ENFP has a similar relationship with SI, which is it provides them shit when they, in their improvisational process, kind of unbidden. But it's not very reliable in terms of keeping track of their ideation, because they do, 80% ideation, 20% keeping track of it, just like ENTP does. Now let's switch over to the ESFP. The ESFP first takes physical action, in other words, causes shit to happen. Then they check to see if their physical action, they're causing actual shit to happen, was a good idea or not, based on whether it made them feel good or not. Then they go, okay, well, now that I've taken that action and I decided to feel good about it, let me figure out how to make it effective for something or useful for something. And then last, they go, now that I've done all that shit, Was that really a good idea? That's a recipe for disaster. Because, unlike the ENFP, who acts metaphysically and therefore can enjoy the benefits of conditionality without understanding them, the ESFP acts physically, takes physical action like, I don't know, unfriending me on Facebook and then calling me multiple times. And I mean, they take all kinds of crazy, stupid action. They don't understand what metaphysical action is, that we can agree upon a conclusion and that's good enough. They insist that there be some sort of physical world manifestation of that action. The problem with that is they don't have TI in anywhere they can use it at all. So if they're trying to justify their actions, they are using a TI, a pantomime of a TI, because nobody can avoid TI, right? Nobody can avoid it and make any claims. If you're making claims, that means you are engaged in a TI realm. And when you try to justify your claims, nobody tries to justify their claims by saying, because I feel like it and I'm TI polar and I don't need it to be consistent with anything except my feelings. Nobody says that. They all say things like, well, I have good reasons for you to agree with me. Except if they're going to say that, then their reasons are going to be subject to scrutiny, because putting them out there for objective scrutiny means, of course, they get scrutinized. And that means they need to be consistent. But ESFPs have no capacity to understand what consistency is. ENFPs don't need to nearly as badly because they're engaged in metaphysically creative action, which is probably not particularly necessarily about making controversial claims. But the ESFP, it doesn't matter whether they're making claims or not because they're doing shit and they're probably causing problems. If they're doing shit that's inconsistent, they're doing shit to other people that is not consistent with any kind of normative framework that withstands scrutiny, then they're engaged in wickedness and they refuse to be held accountable for it. So, look, not all ESFPs are bad. I don't dislike ESFPs the same way I dislike ESTPs. Because generally speaking, ESFPs are massively ineffective in ways that allow us to dismiss them as amusing but irrelevant. And that's fine. I don't care if you're not logical as long as you're not advocating a bunch of fucking bullshit. ESTPs, though, they are justifying bullshit. They're TI, and yet they don't know how to use it properly. And because they're SE, they're necessarily constrained to analyzing shit that doesn't matter. It's like, and then following through on it. I got 50 bad ideas. I'm gonna follow through on all of them because I'm a fucking ESTP. I got 50 ideas. I have no idea how many of them are good or bad because my NI is shit. And the only time I use it is if I'm pressured to. Is if I'm under extreme pressure. That's why I don't like ESTPs. But ESFPs are not necessarily bad. They, but note, they're using their feelings to determine their course of action. That means if they really like something, for example, talking with famous people, they will just ignore the fact that they've, stabbed it 50 times and expect it to be nice to them again. Why? Because they have ignoring SI, so they ignore what they've done before and what's happened already. They've got 4-slot NI, so they only check to see if something's a good idea under extreme pressure. And they've got FI as an evaluatory metric, which means that what they really check is to if something makes them feel good. And they've got TE as a hidden agenda, which means they want to convince everybody else of that fact. But they can't because they're stupid. Anyway, ESFPs, I'm sorry that you guys are so dumb. It doesn't make me hate you. I think you guys are fine. But if your dumbness manifests in certain stupid SE ways, then I don't have any time for you. Thanks. Anybody else want to comment on this stuff? This topic? ENFPs, you're cool with me. I like you guys a lot. ENFPs are great. It's like, look at How. How's a perfect example of an ENFP who has transliterated. He understands the need for things to be logically consistent. He's not going to hang with NTPs as we're battling back and forth, but he comes in with a prepared set of TI consistent ideas that he can present to us and that are palatable to us, because he understands that there's a need to adjust a little bit. Now, and most other ENFPs, if they don't make that adjustment, if they're not whatever, then they're probably not making claims. They're doing art stuff. And art stuff allows you to be subjective and have a great deal of impact on people that's positive. And whereas ESFPs are not doing art stuff, they're...
Anyway, NE, they see possibilities, opens them up to different...
To be honest, I don't know very much about most of the other types. I'm immersed in my own type.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're right. NE does allow them to open up to possibilities and be honest. And also the fact that they have NI ignoring means they're not likely to get attached to any of their ideas particularly. Whereas an ESFP, they've got NI fourth slot, which means they're seeking somebody else to provide them answers regarding which of their ideas are good or bad, or which of their actions are good or bad. They're not even ideating. They're not ideating. They're acting. They're translating the metaphysical work into physical realities through.
Which type are you talking about now?
I'm talking about ESFP.
And the best thing,
okay,
they evaluate.
Yeah, that's totally my mom. That's totally my mom.
She's an ESFP, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. ESFPs, you're okay. You're better than ESTPs, and as long as you don't do stupid ass shit, as long as you don't do stupid ass shit around me all the time, then I'm cool with y'all.
But she wants to know the way things work in the world, and she has an idea of the way things work in the world, and I am her conduit to that. But I give her too much information.
It's because she's seeking she wants TE from you, and you keep giving her TI. That's why. She wants you to tell her how to get more Medicaid for her homie or whatever. Fill out this paper, send it in here by this date, and you get back this by this date. That's what she wants to fucking hear. That's TE. What you give her is, the reason Medicaid is justified within our current system is blah, 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 blah. She don't want any of that shit. That's TI. Anyway, the cool thing about ISFJs, throwing this in the mix too, is they have TI third slot, which means they care a lot about it. They want the world to be consistent. They want ideas to be consistent. They prefer FE as their metric first, but just like me, I use TI first all the time. I'm constantly using TI, but it's all framed through FE. So I really want you guys to think I'm smart and to like me and go, wow, he's so clever and stuff like that, you know? That's what I really want in life, is for people to go, wow, he's so clever. But what's nice is my tool function, TI, is all about consistency, which is why I tend to point out those absurdities about myself rather than defend them. But with Kimberly, she's seeking consistency as a hidden agenda, and I'm seeking being loved as a hidden agenda, and they complement each other because she moderates my TI to make it more palatable to a certain extent, and I disallow FE concerns to be predominant when they ought not, and since she's TI third slot, that means she really wants that. She's not seeking it per se. She doesn't want me to interfere with her own TI, but she'll take help that's not condescending or dismissive, no problem. Just like with me, I don't want to hear a bunch of shit about how I FE'd wrong, but I don't mind at all hearing suggestions about how I could FE better.
That was a big problem in my greatest relationship.
So yeah, and that was a big problem in my longest relationship too. Is I had an FE Dom who was giving me too much criticism in FE,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want
Would
criticism.
not.
In the third slot, you're sensitive. You're sensitive about third slot shit. That's where you're sensitive. I'm sensitive about embarrassing myself or saying the wrong thing or people think I'm a douchebag because I said blah blah blah. I'm sensitive about that stuff.
I'm sensitive about handing out wrong information. I'm sensitive about not truly being loved. I'm constantly questioning whether or not I'm good enough for someone else.
Well, you should be sensitive about your identity, which in that regard it makes sense.
I'm pretty solid in my identity. I know who I am and I know what I believe, but I know that it doesn't translate well to other people, and I'm aware of that, and that bothers me.
Okay, well that's a perceptual thing. That's FE, but I mean the thing is, I don't really understand what it's like to have SI in the third slot, but I've known plenty of people who do. I've known lots of INTPs, INFPs, and my take on it is that the hidden agenda of SI is to construct a self that's metaphysically and physically whole according to a TI framework if you're an INTP and according to an FI framework if you're an INFP. That's why if you watch videos made by INFPs or NFs in general towards other INFPs, it's entirely comprised of metaphor. There's nothing that's meaningful outside of the metaphor that they're creating. So they talk about having different selves within the self that do different things. The pain self, the joy self. I mean, that doesn't mean anything at all. Those words don't mean anything. There's no pain self. You are currently experiencing pain of some sort, emotional or physical.
And that's a construct of your limbic system in your brain,
Okay,
which is...
We don't need to reduce everything to physical causes, though. I hate that. I hate that shit. Fucking INTPs love to go like, well, let's look at some brain scans. Let's talk about actual sciencey stuff. Who the fuck cares about science? Science is fucking gay.
I have overactive theta waves in my brain.
Sorry, Josh. By the way, when I say that, I mean it I don't mean it in the homosexual sense of the word. Okay.
Oops.
Yeah, I tend to forget that you're not supposed to say that anymore.
What? Bag?
No, you're not supposed to say like that shit's gay. Like my whole
You
teenagehood and my whole like 20s.
I don't fucking care. He comes, just fucking whatever.
Yeah,
as long as
I know.
Eric,
the meaning
your
behind
FE is so
it's the meaning
good.
behind it. If you're using it maliciously, it's like racism. We're all racist. We're all racist. Everyone is racist. It's whether or not
racist.
it's whether or not it's malicious racism or non-malicious racism.
Look at
What
this
is that?
cool rock I found.
Rock? Yeah.
I'm a rock racist. I only like cool little rocks. This one's really cool. I found it outside when I went to smoke. See how it's got like a little part in the middle that's different?
I do.
And then this one also has a little part in the middle that's different.
My mom is into rocks.
See
My
that?
mother. Oh, it's blue. It almost looks turquoise.
Yeah, that one's a cool little rock.
It's like rust outside.
And I also got this one because look how flat it is. And I thought it might
And-
stand up on its own. It'd be cool if it stood up like this. But it doesn't stand up.
When I was 10 years old,
Oh,
I
we're
was-
still talking about ESFPs.
Oh yeah, right.
So
That's
on.
right. Thank you, Susie. Hold on. Let's not get started. We're making a video. All right. So yeah, ESFPs, ENFPs. ENFPs probably understand what just happened there. No problem. They're like, well, you know, Eric saw his sensory input things, saw these little rocks that he had gotten, and he started ideating about them. There's why these are cool little rocks. See, it wouldn't be cool if it didn't have this, but it does have this, therefore it's cool. These are ridiculous TI approaches to things that are beyond TI. The coolness of a rock cannot be TI'd, okay? It exists beyond the scope of TI. So, The moral of this story is, if you're an ENFP, you get that. If you're an ESFP, you stopped watching at minute 1 because it got too confusing for you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. And ESFPs, if you are insulted by this, that's probably the right response.